A traffic camera falling victim to a photobomb by a very curious cockatoo. This was in Queensland, Australia. The spot's apparently a regular hangout for the bird. Officials say they sometimes have to jiggle the camera to keep it from chewing on the wires. And that's how Fox reports this Saturday, June 2nd, 2018. I'm Mike Emanuel. Thanks for watching. Watters World starts right now.
Welcome to Watters World. I'm Jesse Watters. The mainstream media had the worst week it's had all year. So much to get to, we're just going to have to take it one thing at a time. First daughter Ivanka tweeted this photo of her and her 2-year-old son, sparking massive backlash with critics calling the photo insensitive in light of her father's immigration policy. I don't know what that means, and a report about missing immigrant children, which turned out to be false.
Critics are saying that the post is really tone deaf amid the reports of families being separated at the Mexican border.
And that was fake news. But the most despicable attack coming from comedian Samantha Bee.
Ivanka Trump, who works at the White House, chose to post the second most oblivious tweet we've seen this week. You know, Ivanka, that's a beautiful photo of you and your child, but let me just say, one mother to another, do something about your dad's immigration practices, you feckless. He listens to you. Put on something tight and low cut and tell your father to stop it.
They bleeped the C word, if you hadn't heard that yet. The president calling out a double standard after the cancellation of Roseanne earlier this week, tweeting, "Why aren't they firing no talent Samantha Bee for the horrible language used on her low-rating show? A total double standard, but that's okay. We are winning, and we will be doing so for a long time to come." First Lady Melania Trump also taking to Twitter, clearing up fake news stories speculating about her whereabouts following her recent surgery, writing, "I see the media is working overtime, speculating where I am and what I'm doing. Rest assured, I'm here at the White House with my family, feeling great and working hard on behalf of children and the American people." Joining me now to break this all down, the founder of Turning Point USA, Charlie Kirk, and media reporter for The Hill, Joe Concha. Charlie, welcome to Watters World.
It's a pleasure to be here in your world.
There it is. You've been practicing that move.
That's right. Well, it's a little bit slower usually.
It's okay. You know, you have a lot to learn. There you go.
The circumference.
Joe's been on the show once or twice.
Yes.
So let's get to the Samantha Bee thing. Her ratings have really deteriorated. She's lost about half her audience in about a year. So I just think this is a Hail Mary to see if she can get back on track, and it looks like it backfired.
I mean, is she supposed to be funny? I mean, the left has killed comedy and late night comedy. I mean, these are just endless angry rants from was-be comedians that are now putting politics over any sort of entertainment value whatsoever. I mean, she's shamelessly going after Ivanka. The double standard, as the president pointed out, is so abhorrent and so apparent. And you are seeing some advertisers back away from it. But this is a common trend. Look, I think this show's far more entertaining than any of these other crazy late-night television.
Well, thank you, Charlie. We're going to have you back on next week.
Thank you, Jesse. Good. It worked. The shameless baiting worked very, very well.
Joe, what do you think? I mean, the president's calling her to be fired. Do you think she should be fired? Do you just think, you know, TBS carved out a little spot for her to get nasty? That's their prerogative.
You say TBS carved that spot, and you're right. Remember, that was scripted. That's in a teleprompter. There are checks and balances where several people had to look at that and say, you know, that's okay.
That was not live.
Right, exactly.
No.
So Laura Ingraham or Katie Pavlich or Michelle Malkin, what happens if they make that comment about any Obama, whether it be Michelle or her daughters or Hillary Clinton or Chelsea Clinton?
They're gone.
So you asked my question, yeah, what should happen? She's gone. Instead, Bee keeps her job, right? There's not even a suspension. That would be the compromise that I would say. Go take a vacation.
Because we did suspend a talking head on Fox News for using a derogatory slur against President Obama. I think he got a week or two off. So there are standards here. To quote the great Tommy Lahren, if it wasn't for double standards, the left would have no standards at all. I want to show you guys these little illegal alien kids in cages that the media went bonkers over earlier in the week. Here's a tweet from former Obama speechwriter Jon Favreau. He says, "This is happening right now And the only debate that matters is how we force our government to get these kids back to their families as fast as humanly possible. Turns out, Charlie, this picture was from the Obama years.
It was from his administration.
Yes.
What I love most about the picture, you look in the upper left-hand corner, 2014. You know, none of these liberals said anything when these images were actually released back when it was happening under the Obama years. And look, this goes to this whole idea that the liberals have selective outrage about these issues. They have such a pathological hatred of this president that they'll make up their own facts and their own circumstances to try to go after him. But going to the kind of this whole common theme, when a conservative does something wrong, they get fired and their life is ruined. When a liberal steps out of line, they have to just issue a fake apology and they get to keep their show.
That's because the left protects its gunslingers. They will do anything to make sure they stay and keep hurling insults at the right. And they make excuses because they believe their political cause is righteous. But these cages, Joe, this is the kind of mistake that I think really destroys what little credibility the fake news media has left.
Yes, and the problem is that even after the mistake is made, there's no contrition.
No.
We apologize. I got it wrong, without excuses. So we always talk about how trust in media is at an all-time low. I would say, use the word hatred before. Hatred of the media is at an all-time high, because this was, I'm not going to say it was intentional, but after the fact, there was no apology. And this is the whole problem with media right now. Very little fact-checking, tweeting before thinking, Jeff.
And if you look at the polling, people trust the president more than the mainstream media. There is also, speaking of not trusting the mainstream media, another character, Jim Acosta. He's the CNN White House correspondent who you see yelling things and trying to get his face on camera. I got it, Jim. You're a budding superstar over there. So remember, Kim Kardashian paid a visit to the White House and talked about prison reform. Here was his reaction. Roll it.
Forget about the fact that Kim Kardashian is here at the White House today and what planet that is anything resembling normal, because it's not. She shouldn't be here talking about prison reform. It's very nice that she is here, but that's not a serious thing to have happened here at the White House.
So a celebrity in 2018 talking about prison reform at the White House, that's illegitimate. But here's what he said about a celebrity talking about prison reform just a few years before.
I'm going to push the president to get more involved in criminal justice reform.
If you change your mind about running for office, give CNN the scoop.
I will. I will.
John Legend.
Don't hold your breath.
Don't hold your breath. We might just a little bit.
Take a lap, Jim.
Oh my goodness! I mean, this again, Jim Acosta. He's my favorite fake journalist that just hangs around the press pool. I think the president just enjoys having him around for the double standard, for calling him out for all this. But look, the president did the right thing to take the meeting with one of the most powerful international celebrities. She has a legitimate cause, not just prison reform, but she's been fighting for the rightful pardon of Angela Elise Johnson. And I think, look, the CNN and Jim Acosta, they can't possibly wrap their head around the fact that a leftist type celebrity can actually interface with a Republican president. So they try everything they possibly can to delegitimize him.
And remember, he's not an opinion host. He is the senior chief White House correspondent, got a promotion earlier this year. Right? And he had the audacity to go on Jimmy Kimmel just a couple of weeks ago and claim that he was just as tough on President Obama than he was on President Trump. Now, here's the real punchline. When you look at ratings from last May of 2017 to May of 2018, CNN has lost 1/4 of its viewers, 25% gone. And you can't say it's been a slow news cycle over the last year. It's been the best news cycle ever if you're in this industry. 25% in total viewers, 35% in what's called the demo. That's 25 to 54-year-olds that advertisers cover at most. More than a third gone. Where did they go? They don't like being told that reporters are reporters when they're really opinion hosts and advocates like Jim Acosta.
Right. I mean, just own it, Jim. You're with her. We all get it. The Roseanne show, unfortunately for a lot of people that worked on the show, was canceled because of some really despicable things Roseanne said about Valerie Jarrett. She compared Valerie Jarrett to an ape. Not good. They canned her immediately. But look how the mainstream media tried to smear Donald Trump with Roseanne Barr.
We know what Donald Trump thinks. We know what Roseanne Barr thinks. It's racist. They're exhibiting racist behavior.
It was a great move yesterday. The thing that sort of is the background of all of this is that the president can be racist and nothing happens to him.
Roseanne's show canceled because she tweeted out racist stuff. You know who I blame for this? Donald Trump. That's who.
Tens of millions of people voted for him. after he showed his cards for years.
But are you suggesting that they're racist, or they're
yes?
The people who vote, all the people who voted for Donald Trump are racist?
Yes.
All right, it's just so many unfortunate things said in that montage. That's like blaming Bernie Sanders when the Bernie bro shot up Steve Scalise. You cannot make that connection with any sort of responsible integrity as a media reporter.
Precisely. I mean, this is the left tries everything they can to loop any sort of bad behavior of someone that is on the center right immediately with the president.
Yet they won't give the president any credit for any good thing that happens. Never. They only smear him with the negative.
Well, make no mistake, this president has done far more for black America in his short presidency than Obama did in 8 years. Black unemployment at an all-time low. You see wages going up. You see an urban revitalization plan. He's going to get prison reform passed, which Obama refused to do. He's pardoning people that have been unjustly put in prison for racial bias, going back, with the pardon of this famous boxer. So look, I think there's a common theme here, which is the left wants to continue this narrative of racism because that's all they can possibly have.
Right.
All they can have is to.
They don't have a slogan. They don't have a jobs plan. They don't have a health care plan. Well, actually, the health care plan is free health care for everybody. I really didn't like the woman at the end there that said that all Trump voters in America are racists.
Isn't that amazing?
Amazing.
65 million people that voted for President Trump in 2016 did so because they think that the guy they were voting for is a racist. Instead of the fact, to your point, that Donald Trump had a message that resonated in Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Michigan, and Hillary Clinton said, vote for me because that guy is bad. And oh, by the way, Roseanne made comments about Susan Rice back in 2013 that were very similar to ones she made about Roseanne in 2018. Problem is, President Trump wasn't even a candidate in 2015, was never even called out for anything. So how could Donald Trump be possibly responsible for Roseanne when she's been doing this well before Trump was a political
Roseanne botched the national anthem. She did the little Hitler mustache. I mean, she's been whacked for a while. I can't blame Donald Trump for that, and neither should anybody else. But CNN is blaming Donald Trump for ruining the White House Sports and Fitness Day because they say he's not fit. Listen to this.
The president is having this event here at the White House today highlighting health and fitness while questions are being raised about the president's own health and fitness. We're told that the chefs in the White House kitchen have been told to limit the calorie and fat intake in some of the meals that they prepare for the president. He has traded his well-done steaks that he usually drowns in ketchup with Dover sole, and those cheeseburgers he eats after he plays a round of golf now only come with the bottom bun and no longer the top half of the bun. When he does go play a round of golf, he uses a cart instead of walking the holes like some people choose to do. So a great deal of irony here today.
CNN fat-shaming President Trump on sports and fitness.
You know what I love about it? Questions are being raised. No one's raising these questions.
CNN is raising them.
They do this all the time. Well, we have inside sources. No, you don't. You're just making stuff up. I mean, questions being raised. You're the only person that cares about this. You and your 4 editorial producers that are trying to destroy this president.
That's an SNL skit.
It really is. A parody has become news. Folks, so reporting live from the White House is caloric intake is being watched. You know, everyone would laugh.
Next thing you expect from CNN is that they're going to say that the president gets 2 scoops of ice cream when everybody else gets. Wait, they already did that.
Oh, that's right. They already did. Oh, look at that swing. Look at that swing.
Or that he only drinks, 9 things of Diet Coke every. Oh wait, they already did that too.
Yeah, what was the last president? Remember when he got caught working out in the gym?
That was working out?
Yeah, he was curling about 10-pound weights, and I think we saw the first pitch he threw. It was the Chicago White Sox game. I didn't see a lot of criticism there. Or when he bricked, he went 2 for 20 at the White House playing basketball. I didn't hear a lot about his fitness then.
Or Bill Clinton, for that matter, at last check, looked like he was in the second trimester, and we never heard anything about that.
That's
either.
not nice, Joe.
No, I'm just saying that this president currently, and Bill Clinton for that matter, had a lot of energy. Right?
That's right.
Had and had. So who cares they're a little overweight? He's 71 years old.
Very high energy.
The guy works hard, and yes, he's high energy.
Let's not forget the stamina, the rallies he's doing, the meetings he's hosting. He keeps an unbelievable schedule, and he's in his 70s, and yet the media has these ridiculous questions are being raised. No one cares.
And didn't his doctor say he was the most fit president of all time?
Yeah, without
the best heart, the best brain. Yeah. I mean, the doctor said that.
Genetics.
He's fine.
Genetics.
Great genetics. Best genetics.
And the doctor, who was a doctor under
the best genetics.
Yeah. And the doctor, who was a doctor under 3 presidents, was attacked for his report as if he was lying for him.
There it is.
That's
all right.
amazing.
The boys, I'll check in with you guys later. Up next, Spygate outrage. Stay tuned.
So wake me up when it's all over. When the efforts to begin targeting and reaching out to Trump campaign officials to gain intelligence on Russia that would ultimately justify the investigation began weeks and maybe months before the FBI had a formal predicate. There were contacts going on by people identified as informers, informants, people who provided information began much, much earlier than July 31st. That's the first part. Second part is, as the investigation was just starting to ramp up, there are internal FBI documents showing FBI agents talking about the White House trying to take over the investigation.
New reports questioning when and how an FBI spy came to be involved with the Trump campaign and how this will impact the Mueller probe moving forward. The president slamming that investigation and its soaring cost, tweeting, AP has just reported that the Russian hoax investigation has now cost our government over $17 million and going up fast. No collusion, except by the Democrats. Joining me now, former U.S. Attorney Joe diGenova and Felipe Arenas. Joe, I now question this entire investigation because what they said was the beginning of the investigation, this Papadopoulos comment to this Australian diplomat about he said he had dirt, doesn't add up because now we know the FBI was running spies at the campaign months beforehand. What does that mean to you?
Well, I don't think there's any doubt that to a reasonable United States attorney, what you have here is an out-of-control CIA and FBI doing counterintelligence investigations against American citizens in the United States and abroad without a proper predicate and without authority in an effort to start another investigation so that they can do damage to the presidential candidate of the other party. I don't think there's any doubt that based on the available public evidence that John Brennan, James Clapper, James Comey, and others worked together to try to start a counterintelligence investigation against the Trump campaign, and that in the end, in order to get that done, they fabricated information, fed it to people overseas who were American citizens, who then mouthed information about that, which was picked up by the FBI and used in FISA warrants. So when all is said and done, what we have here is, let's have a nice federal grand jury run by a competent person, either a senior Justice Department official, a U.S. attorney, or a special counsel, and let's get Brennan, Clapper, Comey, and all these folks in front of a grand jury so they can explain themselves. And I'm not calling for anybody to be indicted. I just want truthful testimony under oath in front of a grand jury. And if indictments result, fine. If they don't, then we'll get an explanation about what happened here.
We want as much transparency on that side as there has been on the Trump side, because the president's campaign, Philippe, has been very forthcoming with the special counsel's office. Millions of documents turned over, a lot of people testifying, and it's been pretty long since this thing is going on. And now we know from some of these FBI texts between Page and Strzok that, quote, the White House is running this, meaning the White House is running the investigation. We can even put the text up on the screen. The White House is running this. What does that mean to you, Philippe? I mean, that goes all the way to the top now.
Well, I want to first respectfully disagree with Joe on something he said about no reasonable U.S. attorney would do this, because both Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein and Bob Mueller were U.S. attorneys. In fact, Rod Rosenstein's previous job was U.S. attorney, I believe, for Maryland. But in terms of your question, I think there's a problem here. We all forget where this started. This starts with Russia trying to screw around with us. What happened from there is American intelligence, counterintelligence, and law enforcement trying to stop them. The so-called Spygate is flipped on its head. The spying was done by Russia on America. Okay. What the FBI tried doing is preventing it. I'm not exactly sure why the president and the White House have internalized
Let's just say that. Okay, let's just say that's true, that they were trying to prevent all these Russians from messing with the election. Did they do a good job, number one? Number two, have any Russians have any Russians been indicted for collusion?
Well,
no,
I mean,
they were
Bob
indicted for calling Hillary Clinton names on Facebook. and
Bob
dressing
Mueller
up
has indicted
with
17
a
people and has
little
5 guilty pleas.
Hillary for prison costume and running around Florida at a rally. These are not high-level Russian spies colluding with the Trump campaign. Joe, after 2 years, wouldn't there actually be evidence of Russians colluding if that was the object, was to get Russians for doing bad things?
Yes, and of course it would have leaked by now if there were evidence of it. But the point is that the FBI and the CIA, to the extent that it was working overseas, we're not trying to stop the Russians from doing anything. Many of the Obama administration officials have bemoaned the fact that President Obama did not do enough to stop the Russians from meddling in the campaign. But when you look at the FBI and see what they did and what they now say they were trying to do, as James Clapper said, we were only trying to help the Trump campaign. That's not what you do. You don't start a counterintelligence investigation against an American presidential candidate. What you do is you go to that candidate's campaign and the candidate in the FBI and you say, Mr. Candidate, we think the Russians are trying to influence your campaign. We're giving you a defensive briefing. We'd like to help you take defensive measures, prophylactic measures against the Russians. But the Bureau didn't do that.
Yeah, let me ask,
that's not what they were doing.
Yeah, Philippe,
they were
why
investigating
didn't the
Trump campaign.
Why didn't the FBI go to the Trump campaign in May or April or whatever and say, listen, we're getting some word that the Russians might be trying to pull some dirty tricks with your guys or with your team. Hey, heads up.
I would flip that on its head and say 2 things. First, why wouldn't the Trump campaign say, hey, FBI, we've got some weird contacts coming our way? I served in government for more than a dozen years.
What were the weird
and so did
contacts
Joe.
coming their way?
People emailing you say, I have dirt on Hillary Clinton? I mean, that's pretty clear.
Oh, wait. Who emailed who that said I have dirt on Hillary Clinton?
Emailed Don Jr., a Russian emailed Don Jr., we have dirt on Hillary Clinton. And he said, I love it, especially if it's for the summer. Look, Joe is serving government.
But do you know how suspicious that is?
Someone, you would report it.
Yeah, but do you know how suspicious that is? If you're Don Jr., you're a businessman, you're just looking for anything you can get on Hillary, and the woman that comes in gets a special visa approved by Loretta Lynch before the meeting, meets with Fusion GPS, the dossier author, and then after the meeting meets with Fusion GPS's president. Doesn't that seem like a little bit of a setup to you, Joe?
Well, I don't think there's any doubt that the activities here are very questionable. They're inexplicable. They do not comport with traditional law enforcement and tradecraft of spy. What they comport with is an effort to subvert the campaign of the opposing candidate. And let me just say, it would be one thing if this were just sort of a simple story, but it's not, because when you go back to July 5th, 2016, and James Comey's famous news conference where he accuses Hillary Clinton of a series of crimes and then exonerates her, whatever the Russians were trying to do, they couldn't have done anything worse than what James Comey did on that day. He gave a blow to the solar plexus to the Clinton campaign, far beyond anything that either Donald Trump or
Joe,
the Russians could have done.
You can't see me nodding, but I'm nodding vigorously.
There's nothing not to nod about. The bottom line is this. While all that's going on, James Comey, John Brennan, and James Clapper are trying to figure out how to subvert the candidacy of the opposing candidate. And I must say, there is absolutely irrefutable evidence now that that's exactly what they were doing. And I'm perfectly happy, by the way, to have a grand jury look at it and make all the decisions necessary about whether or not any of that was illegal. And I'll tell you, I just think right now, watching the fight between McCabe and Comey about who lied about what during all of this tells you exactly what kind of leadership we had at the FBI and the Department of Justice in the Obama administration.
Yeah, Philippe's not a big fan of James Comey either, and I think he'll admit that in Order's world, as are most Democrats. And I always will say that Hillary would have fired Comey probably quicker than Donald J. Trump.
Why didn't Obama fire Comey after the July 5th press conference? He should have been fired.
A lot of questions. You and I would be sitting here talking about obstruction of something else. I mean, the problem with 2016
listen, Philippe, we got to run, but the only thing Trump obstructed was Hillary getting into the White House. Up next, a judge ordered him out of his parents' home, and we're going to check with this 30-year-old Michael Rotondo on his house hunt.
There is a lot of adrenaline with being a journalist. I think it's one of the things that drew us to the business. You want to be well informed so that whenever news breaks, you're ready to tackle it. I think that nighttime hours are invaluable. The fact that we've added a hard news hour at 11 p.m. Eastern is critical. Whatever is developed through the day, people are fully informed from coast to coast before they go to bed. There is something about getting that score, knowing you've gotten it right, and breaking something that's really important.
Live from America's news headquarters, I'm Mike Emanuel. Fox News obtaining a letter sent in January from President Trump's legal team to special counsel Robert Mueller, arguing that the president cannot be forced to testify in the investigation into Russian meddling in the 2016 election. They also argue that Mr. Trump could not have committed obstruction because he has absolute authority over all federal investigations. A U.S. delegation in Beijing this weekend to talk trade as fears of a global trade war escalate. U.S. Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross arriving in China today in hopes of negotiating a deal that would close a large trade gap with China. The talks coming after a rocky week during which the White House moved to revive the threat of tariffs on Chinese imports and slapped Canada, Mexico, and the European Union with steep metal tariffs. I'm Mike Emanuel. For now, back to Watters World.
Michael Rotundo is on the move. By now, you might have heard about the 30-year-old from upstate New York who last week was evicted under court order from his parents' home after living there rent-free for 8 years. Rotundo spent the week packing up his things and finally moving out. He joins me now with the latest on his house hunt. All right, Mike, where are you right now?
Right on at my cousin's sister's house.
Okay, so you're still technically living with the family.
We're here because there's a nice Skype setup with a camera and a microphone, and it's very easy to set up, very nice.
What's the flag in the background? What flag is that?
I don't know what this flag is. You know what flag that is?
No, it's Leo just collects flags.
It's this is how old is he?
Leo's 9.
This is a 9-year-old's bedroom. This is a 9-year-old's bedroom.
Got it. Yeah. I want to go back a little while because I'm interested in your backstory. You went to college, right?
Briefly, yeah.
Did you graduate from college?
No, briefly means I didn't graduate. No, I didn't graduate.
So I thought maybe you matriculated quickly because of your advanced intelligence. What was your major when you were briefly in college?
I won't say that. I started with engineering and I went to business when that didn't work out.
Okay, you dropped out of college?
Yep.
Why did you drop out of college?
My academic habits were very poor, and so I really couldn't just integrate into the classes very well. Okay.
So you like engineering and you like business. When you dropped out of college, what happened next?
I started in sales. I've held a lot of different sales jobs.
What were you selling?
I sold vacuum cleaners, I've sold dry cleaner coupons, I've done retail, which isn't real professional sales, but I've done it. I've done a lot of weird things, like where you kind of like pitch people on the street, sort of, in front of businesses. I did that for a while.
Did you dress up in one of those like crazy outfits that flap around in the wind? Is that what you mean?
Wacky waving inflatable and arm flailing tube man?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. So you've had a few jobs, mostly in sales, but does that account for all 8 years? You must have been unemployed for a lot of that time, right?
No, I was, I really wasn't saving very much. But I spent it on things that I needed.
Like what?
Like food and conventional things, entertainment, food, gasoline, those things like that.
What kind of entertainment?
Sometimes housing. Huh?
What kind of entertainment?
Bars. You go to a bar, that's entertainment, I would say. Or just leisure time. Sometimes movies, but not often.
Okay. So were you fired from a lot of these jobs or did you quit?
I'm not discussing my work history at this time, I'm sorry.
Okay.
To that effect.
What about voting? Do you vote, Mike?
I do vote.
Did you vote for president in 2016?
I did.
Would you like to share who you voted for?
I would share that with you. I voted for Gary Johnson.
Gary. Somehow
Gary.
that doesn't surprise me.
Doesn't or does?
It does not surprise me. I don't know why, but I thought it was either going to be Bernie or Gary, and I think I was right. Gary Johnson.
You got to vote for your favorite. You got to vote for it, even if it's. You got to vote for the candidate that you support. You shouldn't vote for a candidate because you think other people. You shouldn't strategically vote. Vote with who you want to vote for.
Okay.
That's what you should do.
What about Gary Johnson did you like?
I liked that he was. I would say that he was. I'm a libertarian, so basically that's why I voted for him in a nutshell. But I like how practical he is with a lot of things. I like how fiscal responsibility is very important for the Libertarian Party. So I would say that personally, I think it's.
Hey, Mike. So if fiscal responsibility is something that's important to you, don't you think you might have saved some money and been fiscally responsible in your personal life?
Oh, I didn't think of that. That's a good point. I probably should have bought some bonds or something or saved more.
Oh, maybe. Any girls right now in your life, Mike? Do you have a girlfriend?
No. Do you know anyone?
Do you have a boyfriend?
No.
All right. Well, listen, I hear job offers are coming in. Maybe you'll get some girlfriends as you get more media exposure, but good luck on the house hunt, and I appreciate you coming on to Watters World.
Sure. Thanks for having me.
All right. Is there such a thing as too much winning? We sent Diamond and Silk to Harlem to ask the folks.
Booming economy. Yeah.
Well,
President Trump. Okay.
Well, I don't like it.
Whoa. You don't like the economy booming up under this president that's got it?
I don't like the president. I think he's a bigot.
You think he's a who?
A bigot.
Wait a minute, hold up. I won't hold you back. I won't hold you back. Okay, can you give me the definition of a bigot?
A racist. He started a lot of chaos when there's no need to be chaos.
What did he say?
He says a lot of things he ain't supposed to say.
Name one.
He talks about people that he shouldn't talk about.
Like who?
I am speechless. I am without speech.
In this day and time, only the stronger survive.
So, do I get like a thumbs up for our president?
No, not so much, really. No, not really.
What about a thumbs up for the economy? Right.
Thumbs up for the economy.
Okay,
yes.
okay. Thumbs up! What can President Trump do to make it better so that you can feel good about the economy?
Definitely need a better job.
Okay, have you been looking for a better job? Because he done created about 6 million of them.
Yes, he did. He did a good job of creating jobs, that's for sure.
I feel that he could do more for black people, but black people have to learn how to start doing more for themselves.
Okay. Get more classy people. Get more classy people? Yeah.
You stay classy, San Diego.
I think he says some dumb he should not have a Twitter.
Yeah. Okay. Well, he needs a Twitter. Yeah, he got to get the news out right there.
He should not have a Twitter.
I'm Diamond. And I'm Silk. And it's Watters World.
Oh my God, that was really good. You guys are good. You guys are naturals.
Oh, wow.
You guys are naturals. I liked how you stuck it to the one guy. Well, give me an example.
Oh,
what did he say?
That's
What
right.
did he say? He had nothing.
Had nothing. He had nothing to say. He had nothing to say. And, we have to call people out whenever they want to use that racist word. Yeah. What makes it? Tell me what. And they can't give you can't say because somebody is a billionaire or is rich, they're racist. That don't make a person racist. That's
right.
So it was an interesting conversation being out there on the street.
It seemed like they will give Trump credit for the economy. And it seemed like you got a lot of that out of them, that the economy's doing better under this president. They just don't like the guy's style too much.
Well, you know what, though, Jesse? I think a lot of them really liked him, but they were afraid because we had a lot of people. I don't want to be on camera, but I absolutely love them. Yeah. And I love y'all. Yes.
You had a lot of people uptown.
We had a lot of people
in the Bronx
saying that. Absolutely. This is Harlem. We had a lot of people saying that to us.
And I believe that a lot of people were scared to say it on TV, on the camera, because they was afraid that they, may lose their job or something like that.
Or be ostracized and criticized.
That's right.
All right, ladies. Well done up there in Harlem.
Thank you so much. We had so much fun.
Yeah. Thank you. All right, Chit Chat Tour. tearing up the whole country. Check it out. Now the party continues with the best of the Party Bros next. Experts? Probably not. But that doesn't stop the Party Bros from wading into hot button issues on Water's World. Take a look at some of their deepest thoughts and their most unforgettable moments. Our unofficial California correspondents, the Party Bros, Chad Kroeger and JT Parr. What's up, boys?
What up, J-Bone?
Breezy, what up, dude?
Your state's in the crosshairs of Little Rocket Man. The guy's threatening nuclear Armageddon. He's firing missiles all over the place.
Elton John?
No, Kim Jong-un.
Well, that's a bummer, dude. You know, I think...
Don't annihilate California.
Yeah, don't annihilate him. You know, I think in times like these, I turn to the original Fast and the Furious, where Paul Walker, you know, like, in the first one, Vince was really flexing on him really hard, but Paul sort of remained chill and stoked, and he just said, like, you know, I love the tuna here. And that sort of put Vince at ease. So I think if we held that stance of just like, we're chill, dude, like, we like the tuna.
And dudes act aggro, but like, nobody wants to leave the party, and if you start hurling nukes at each other, there's not going to be a lot of parties.
I want to understand what you guys think about these Russians interfering in the American election.
Keep it local and stay at your spot.
Yeah, and I think they are trying to sow seeds of discord amongst us Americans, but I think they're underestimating how much I love my dogs, and that, like, the love that we share for one another, while it can be tried, it cannot be defeated.
California is now a sanctuary state. Do you think that's a good idea?
Well, I'm glad you asked that, J-Bone. By the way, it's good to see you.
Yeah, you too, man.
I think in terms of like immigration, JT and I like to sort of go to our sort of party regulation kind of method. Okay, you want to explain that?
Yeah, Ragers that I have, there's a pretty simple platform for who gets to come in and who has to leave. If you're chill, you can kick it. If you're a D-bag, you gotta bail.
Trump in your backyard, looking at the border prototypes. Was there anyone that you guys liked in particular?
Senor Jesse, no me gusta.
You're anti-wall.
Yo no me gusta, no es simpático.
You want like a half pipe instead of the wall. People could just drop in and come on over to the other side.
That'd be pretty dank.
That sounds like one of the fattest ideas I've ever heard.
The parade that the president wants to throw for the military, are you guys pro-military parade or anti-military parade?
Yeah, if it's to support the troops and like for us to give adulation to them, I'm totally down. But if it's just for us to flex, it's like, dude, you know you're jacked. Like, you don't have to, like, rip off your sleeves.
Yeah, it's like wearing a tight tee. Like, we get it, dude.
Weed's legal now out there in California. You guys think that's a good idea?
I think it's dank.
It's dank.
It's dank. Yeah. Donald Trump's talking about launching a space force, sending Americans up into space to, I guess, fight other people or fight the aliens. Would you guys ever volunteer for that?
All day. I'm totally on board. That's a dream come true.
Yeah, I'm normally a pacifist, but when it comes to intergalactic warfare, I gotta say, let's do it.
Boys,
thank you, J-Bone.
Always a good time. All right, Big Water's World promo alert. Chad and JT next week are back on the show. But up next, last call.